Hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program 2. So we did a bit of an overview previously, and honestly my main motivation behind that, as someone who's quite average at Kerbal, you know, I'm not one of these Kerbal channels that are very, very sweaty. Nothing against them, I'm glad they exist, but I am of the people, I'm a dumb caveman. I'm very impressed with how the tutorials are really well polished and well considered for this game, making it very, very accessible to people that maybe were scared of Kerbal 1. Now, this obviously, there's a lot of criticism, it's a different developer, there are a lot of bugs, a lot of issues, because it is early access all over again. Feels like a step back in many, many ways. I can understand that, especially if Kerbal is the only game you play, if it's your lifeblood. I'm not that worried, it's okay, whatever. Early access games are buggy. I guess that's the reality we live in. I don't necessarily agree with it or like it, but so it is. Anyway, so I thought I'd come back to this because why wouldn't I, right? I enjoy doing longer form playthroughs on the channel, and I figured we could do that with this. If you want to see more Kerbal on the channel, make sure you do let me know. This could be a one and done, or we could turn it into a longer running series if there is an interest behind it. Now, there isn't a career mode at the moment. So I guess we could just start a new campaign, right? Normal campaign name, Goober. That sounds good. Kerbal Space Academy flag. Oh, we've got other flags? No, I'm good, thanks. This one's perfect. Set agency colors. Nah, boring's good. So there's no tech or objectives built into it. However, there are lots of different planets to go and visit and drop landers on, and you know, within the sandbox constraints, we could probably come up with our own objectives. Getting into orbit, I like the idea of building space stations and that sort of thing. That's something I never really did, but I'd like to do. You can't build bases yet, like there are still some limitations, but there's a lot of tools and items in it already.
We have looked to the sky and wondered what sublime mysteries lie hidden in the darkness.
This is so corny, I love it.
Beheld. These untold treasures may soon reveal themselves due to the efforts recently founded Kerbal Space Program.
Oh my, I think that might have been the only copy of the
I don't find this tutorial character very abrasive. In the scheme of things, it's actually pretty, you know, pretty palatable.
This campus hosts the greatest ever gathering of astronomers, astronauts, and engineers. After years of focused effort, this collection of geniuses has created several very impressive buildings.
Good.
We believe we have all the necessary pieces to take our first steps off the ground. The best way to advance our technologies further is to get up there and learn by doing.
Yep, true.
All we need now is somebody to show us how to put all these parts together. Well, we also need somebody to help us out with the flying. We need a lot of help, actually. That's why we're
sure.
here. My name is Paige, by the way. If you need any hints, feel free to visit me over at the training center.
Probably not going to do that.
Everything in there is
Again,
well
I
done,
featured,
so
they've got some great animated little videos and that. It's fantastic stuff, but I've done all the tutorials. I don't need to do them again. But I'm glad they exist. In fact, it's very important they exist. Kerbal can't just be for the sweaty community that are already sold on it. You always want fresh blood, and you need to have an accessible front end. So this is very, very new user friendly. Okay, so what we're probably going to do, can I just go to the tracking station? Get a bit of a bird's eye view of things. Oh, this is really cool. I should probably not be skipping all this shit. Oh, whatever. So there's Kerbin, right? And I guess there's the Kerbal Space Center. And this is our solar system in this game. Now, you can go extra solar later. I don't believe much of that's implemented at the moment. But I don't think, I think getting orbit would be great, because that's something that I've essentially failed to do in original Kerbal. But beyond that, we've got the moon out here, Mun, right? And we've got Minmus, which I believe is a secondary moon as well. So we've got 2 moons orbiting our planet. And then beyond that, we've got, what else have we got? We've got Eve. All right, okay, so we're third rock, are we? What's Moho? Is Moho that one? Okay. So they're your Mercury and Venus kind of stand-ins. Juno must be Mars. Okay. Oh, look at this, and they've got little moons as well. Gilly. Eve has a moon. And zoom in and have a bit of a look at it. I believe Eve is like purple or something. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that, oh, what's this? Physical characteristics, orbital characteristics, synopsis, cloud cover, picturesque liquid sulfur oceans, intense gravitational pull and dense high pressure atmosphere tend to turn visits into a one-way trip. Stay because your ship exploded on entry. Anyway, so that gives you an idea. So we've got lots of things that we could do, and I suppose, you know, given that this is not a one and done episode and that there is interest, then I'm happy to just plan little flights and try and figure out how to play the game. Now this is interesting. You can construct several assemblies. Assembly marked with the green icon is your launch assembly. It's what goes out the door when you select launch. Right. And then you've got the engineer's report, which is interesting. I've noticed that thrust to weight only gives you for the entire assembly. So like for the first stage, and that's a bit of an oversight. So if you want a 5-stage rocket or something like that, you can't figure out what your thrust to weight is beyond the in complete initial assembly. It has to be over 1. That's true. I'm glad it's saying all this stuff. The trip planner is particularly awesome, right? We'll have a bit of a look at that in a sec when this all finishes up. Training center, blah, blah, blah. But, okay, hang on. One thing at a time. The vessel has no command part. So the engineer's report not only gives you this important information like thrust to weight, but it will tell you if there's critical problems with your ship. But the trip planner is really fascinating in that you could go, I want to go to certain locations. I want to go to the moon, right? From Kerbal to moon. Round trip. Now, you can only launch from Kerbal, right? But it gives you an idea of the delta V for the different sections. So this is a very welcome addition. People have been using delta V tables for the first game forever, but they've always been something you get out of a forum or something, right? What I would really like to do, I am forever fascinated by the idea of getting launch assemblies in orbit, right? Fuel stations, things like that. Because the most difficult part of everything is getting something from the ground through our atmosphere into space. Beyond there, arguably, everything else is pretty straightforward, right? You don't really have air resistance. Moving from planet to planet, you know, you line up your sort of orbital slingshot and then you do your burn to get it into position. But, you know, you're dealing with a lot less fuel expenditure and resistance. So I always like the idea of potentially getting like a refueling station or system set up, but that's probably a little while away. For now, let's actually try and get into orbit. Straight into it, right? Again, this is something I don't think I've ever really done successfully originally. So it reckons to get to Kerbal low orbit, you need 3,400. Let's see. Tin can, right? So that's your sort of stereotypical. What's going on with the? Yeah, there you go. I was going to say the graphics aren't pop. Must have been a pop-in delay. Right, but we've got all sorts of launches as well. But I like the idea of this one. The starters. Got probes as well. I haven't really done much with probes. Okay, cool. So as all this orbital mechanics as explained by a dickhead to you, well, actually, let's put a parachute on this first. Probably the extra small one will do just fine, just there. And we'll put a heat shield on the bottom. Where is that? Payloads. Thermal. Small. Right, so that's our little cabin. We'll be able to fit one Kerbal in there, right? So what you want is you need to break free from the atmosphere, and you can multi-stage that if you want. I'm not that worried. I'm happy because the game's giving us all the tools. I'm happy to kind of just brute force our way out first. Maybe we can make more refined systems later. But let's just, you know, get something that works first. Reliant swivel, these are familiar. Now I believe the Reliant has 0 gimbal capacity. Shift to view more. See that? If you mouse over that, you can see that says vectoring range for the engine gimbal, and this doesn't have an engine gimbal at all. So that's not going to do us much good at all. So let's get that. And then the main fuel that we use is methalox. There's also boosters as well for engines. Oh, hang on. Methalox, methane. I don't know. Monopropellant. So I guess you could use methane. What's going on there? Impact tolerance, 2 tons of methane. But methalox seems to be, you know, more widely covered. I'm assuming that's the main source. Monopropellant, you got xenon and hydrogen down here as well, but I don't think we're going to worry about that too much. So, let's say we took a big old fuel tank like that, right? So there's a 1-stage rocket, off you go, 2400 delta V. So apparently this doesn't even have enough delta V to get us into low orbit. So we should probably improve upon that. What's our thrust to weight as well? Can I move this? I can. So I can have the engineers report up as well. Thrust to weight is 2.6, which is pretty significant. I mean, it's, as long as it's over 1. So what we could potentially do, if we... So what did it say? How much was it? 2500, we'll call it. If I just slap more fuel on... 3500, thrust to weight of 1.6. So that should be enough to get us into low orbit. Round trip. Interesting. However, there's no maneuver component to it, and there's no staging, which is a little bit frustrating because there's a lot of dead weight that you're carrying. Now, what could we do about that? I don't know. Maybe we could put an interim swivel motor in there and 2-stage like this, and we'll put a coupling like so. Now you got to get your engine order right, otherwise it gets confused. I'll put that down there and we'll put that up there. There. Okay, that looks like it'll work. 3600 delta V. Like, I'm not leaving a lot of play, that's very precise. But that should work. What's the thrust to weight? 2.6 as well? Yeah, okay. I can't see why this wouldn't work. Now, getting your gravity turn right is a whole other thing. It's probably worth pointing out, if you're new, you know, and let me know if you do find this helpful, because nothing against the bigger streamers and YouTubers, but they're a bit beyond explaining it at the lowest level. For Kerbal, there's 2 really important numbers to keep in mind. You need to get to 70,000 meters to escape the atmosphere. That's where the atmosphere is vacuum, where it's no longer within the atmosphere of Kerbal, i.e. you don't have to deal with wind resistance. Just gravity, I suppose. And what you need is an orbital velocity of 2400 meters per second. If you hit both of these numbers, both of these vector components, your distance away and your rotational vector speed, then you will be in orbit, right? You'll be perpetually tumbling without resistance. So they're the things that you want to get your head around. I reckon we'll go like this. And we've got Bill Kerman in the seat. I think if you're clever about it, you can clip in there. Hello, mate. Jeez, it gave me a jump. Cool. So they've moved a lot of the UI elements around. Essentially, you stage with the spacebar. You've got your little app bar down here as well, so you can manage all your parts. I'm not sweaty enough to understand any of this shit. All I know is spacebar make go, and we have 3 goes on the spacebar. SAS is on by default. We don't have any RCS or anything like that. I have found the SAS to play up and get buggy. You can see down here you have your apoapsis and periapsis readouts. So essentially what they are is the highest and lowest point of an orbital path, right? Let's say it's not a perfect circle. It's sort of like a oval. You're going to have a point that's the highest and a point that's the lowest, essentially, right? Or an offset circle. You need both of these to be over 70,000 meters. And in this, if you click this, you can change it to orbital speed. So you can see we have an orbital speed, and that's the rotational orbit of our planet. As we, we're stationary, but we are rotating at that speed, which is pretty cool. And then you've got all these sort of commands, which are pretty helpful. And in career mode, you don't get a lot of them at the beginning because you don't have them unlocked. But being able to fire prograde and retrograde are very, very helpful. Shrinking your orb, your radius is cool as well. I found them to be pretty helpful. I'm not really sure how best to use normal and anti-normal. I have to look into that, I guess. But essentially, if you burn prograde, which is along your current vector, at the very, very top of your apoapsis, where you will be basically right-angled to your orbit, you can elongate your orbit, and that's actually how you do a circularization burn, as far as I understand. Anyway, so what's the plan? The plan is that we're gonna press go, and we're gonna steer east. We're gonna try and create a gravity turn, and what we're gonna track is this number as we approach 2,400 meters per second, which is gonna be tough, and then getting an apoapsis to 70,000, and you don't really want to overshoot that. And you sort of, I should probably write myself a table, a rotational table, like at 35,000 be at this, so I'll just eyeball it for the moment. But having a conversion sort of table would be particularly helpful, I think. But what would I know? This is just some guy speculating. Anyway, let's go. We're going to fire. They do a countdown now, which is really cute. Go. And off we go. And get the music and all that. It's very cool. So you can see your apoapsis, your projected apoapsis is already starting to play out, right? You could check here that our relative surface velocity is increasing, but I don't care about that at the moment. All I care about is our orbital velocity, which you can see is increasing because as we get further away from the planet, even without tilting, we are rotating. Apoapsis 2, 3. I reckon, I think we're good to keep going straight up for now. 10,000 meters. We're gonna have to restage in a second. Okay. 20. 30. I wouldn't mind going faster around actually. What's halfway? 35, and we're not at 1200, so. Halfway through my fuel. Now, I don't think this is going to work out. We're just not going to have enough. What we could attempt to do is angle up and try and hit the 70 apoapsis. And I'll just turn off for the moment, potentially. Though we are losing fuel, speed, velocity, whatever you want to call it. And what we could try and do is just drift up, but I'm not 100% sure about this. This is all speculation. The other option is that I could just try and do this as hard as I can. Oh, look at this. No. Have I just accidentally done it first go perfectly? No, please. What? Now, the problem is that our periapsis, you can see, is at 30,000, right? So, why is this a problem, says Scar? Look at this. Our apoapsis is blown right out to 170,000 meters. That's fine. So what you're going to find is we're going to go around here and we're going to be cool. We're not going to have any resistance or anything. But as you come back in here and you dip back into the top of the atmosphere below 70,000, and then you're going to start hitting wind resistance, and that periapsis is not actually going to be the same. I can't believe how well that went. I've got the tiniest little bit of fuel. What we could probably do is we could warp forward to our apoapsis. I doubt I can circularize this successfully. But for a first little just off the cuff, I mean, if you've ever seen my old series or anything where I've come from, this is a big victory. It's a big V for Scarlet. Come all the way around here. All right, and then what we will do is we'll rotate to face prograde. Wow, it's kind of pretty. And right when we get right on the apoapsis, we're going to burn as close to this side of it as possible. But again, I've got almost no fuel. It's going to just go, but I wonder how much it would move the periapsis even then. Because that's the idea, is if you burn on this side, you should be able to push that out. I think. That's the theory I'm going with. And I'll just put the throttle down straight away. Oh! Oh, boys! I didn't expect it to do that much. Your vehicle's out of fuel if you'd like to make another flight. Oh, I didn't actually attach a decoupler to this at all, did I? No! So, we're in orbit. We're in orbit. At no point does this orbit ever dip into air resistance. So poor old Bill. He's stuck here forever. Now I'm actually legitimately tempted to, because I don't think they starve to death or die or anything like that. How's that for a first flight? Again, I've been playing this bits and pieces offline, and I made the overview, but it was all surface level stuff. It was always meant to be. I am tempted to attempt to rescue old Bill. I wonder if we can rescue, like salvage the gear. I don't know. Yeah. Right, well, so how do I get out of here? I don't want to revert. Can I just go to the tracking station? Yeah. Destroy. Vessel. Focus. Oh, Fly Safe 1. That's the name of it. Ah. Flight situation. Trajectory in orbit. Power stored. Oh, it won't have any power because I didn't put any, like... It will run out of power. But I don't believe there's any life support or anything like that. So it's just a floating husk with a dude in there now, which we could try and rescue, which that's exactly what we're going to do. How do I go VAB? Oh, that's good. I'm quite chuffed with that. So now I guess we need to think about what we do next. I've still got a few minutes I wouldn't have mind going longer for, but we might actually just put a pin in it there and be a little bit of a shorter episode. because I'll put it out there, we'll see. People might not be interested, people might be invested. If you do want to see some more, make sure you let me know. And let me know what we're going to do. If there are any of you sweaty guys that would know how you could rescue the dude, because I don't really know what gear's available. There's no like docking clamp or anything like that. I know you can get docks, I think in couplers, docking ports, but obviously his ship's not equipped with one. But he can just EVA out the side of it. So maybe we could just do some serious cowboy shit and roll up next to him with another ship and have him just do a spacewalk. And you know, like if we just get them at matching velocities, it should be pretty straightforward relatively. There's no atmosphere. Yeah, so if we match the orbit perfectly side by side, he should just be able to spacewalk over to the other vessel. I can't see why that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. How exciting. All right, anyway, let me know if you want to see any more of that, and if you have any suggestions. Team, we might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.